You know, as much as conservatives bitch about our political system, America has a pretty good republic. It's not like simply an oligarchy of chancellors discussing the issues and then issuing them to everybody, and we just have to follow the law. There is a series of levels to the republic. First, what happens is the state branch, state representatives, propose an idea, and they have professionals to think them up, word them, etc. And state representatives are kind of like the ambassadors of their state, and they get together and they discuss the laws, they vote on them, and then it moves on, if it passes, to the bigger branch of Congress, to senators and things like that. And then after that, it goes to the president's desk, and the president stamps it or vetoes it, and then it goes back to the state representatives if it's vetoed, or the president okays it, and then it becomes federal law. This already seems like a pretty good system of where you have, yeah, not everyone gets to vote actually. The majority does not rule, but it is a large sector of state representatives, and then you know, the senators, and then the president, which takes up a portion of society, and furthermore makes them conflict. That way, no corrupt law is legislated, and oppression is not as fast. Because you would have to have a corrupt and totalitarian state senate, then you would have to have a corrupt and totalitarian federal senate, and then you would have to have a corrupt and, you know, president. You know, everyone from top to bottom would have to be just completely balls to the wall. And then you have the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court only has enough time to litigate a certain number of issues for a couple years. I mean, there's just so much on their plate, and they like to limit their power. That way they're not interfering directly, and it's not like an oligarch. But the Supreme Court issues sanctions against certain laws and either strips them or reinterprets them. And that's why I'm linking to the Supreme Court Illuminati card, because apparently the Supreme Court has ruled that American police officers can strip search you for even the most mundane of things. Even if you're falsely arrested, even if you have been arrested for traffic violations or some kind of misdemeanor, you can still be strip searched. And apparently it's for security, but we all know that's bullshit. But what gets me is the fact that this is an erosion of civil liberties, and it managed to get past the state legislation, it managed to get past the state representatives, then it managed to get past the Senate, then it managed to get past the president, and even then, the Supreme Court argued back and forth and decided, hey, you know what, it's legit. So that means out of the multitude of people in government, it still managed to pass. And the only thing I can think of is that, well, maybe we just don't have enough representation. I mean, we do have these multitude branches keeping each other in line, but maybe it would be good to have a federalist society where the direct democracy of people takes a part in that equation. Maybe before you know, we answer to the Supreme Court or the president, maybe the people themselves should get to vote on an issue, and then it goes on to the republics. I'm just, you know, throwing something out there. I am not saying that would be the best option. I am only saying that that is a possibility. Because, as it stands now, it seems that capitalism has completely tainted every facet of government. And, you know, our forefathers worked very hard to prevent that. You know, they must have sat down and thought about this, because you would not have created this multi-level system if not for the fact that you were trying to prevent those sorts of things. But unfortunately, when you live under capitalism, it's going to happen anyway. They're going to corrupt people. They're going to bribe their way, and they're going to, you know, assassinate people, and they're going to do underhanded criminal things to get their way. Unfortunately, it's just somehow gotten so bad where, They can get away with anything, and there just seems to be no branch of government willing to step back and say, you know what, this is wrong. And it amazes me how you can have all these people participating with all these multifaceted issues and all this conflict, and you still manage to pass the corrupt laws. It completely baffles me. And, I do believe that bureaucracy protects our freedoms to an extent. That when you have this bureaucratic republic, it prevents multitudes of corruption. It prevents more corruption because it's not simply just the will of some leaders. It's not simply the will of the people, because the mob can be much more easily persuaded and lied to. So, you can't rely on normal everyday people to secure freedom. They don't give a shit about freedom. And you cannot simply rely on our leaders, because what incentive do leaders have to care about freedom? So you have to mix it. You have to have this mixed political branch that has every motivation to contradict one another to protect freedom. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that. And that confuses me, because I just don't see why not. I don't see why, after the state representatives voted for this issue, the Senate was not like, this seems wrong to me, and, voted down it. And even if it managed to get past the Senate, the president should have said, maybe as a so-called liberal president, it wouldn't be right for me to say that it was okay for police officers to strip search anybody. And once the president, stamped it and said, okay, and it was able to get into the Supreme Court's hands to discuss, one of the few laws per 5 years that does or whatever, and the Supreme Court, debated it, and they too see nothing wrong with it and didn't decide to affect this issue, even though they have before over other things. I just don't understand that. So, that's all I have to say for now. That I just don't see how the Republic has failed to such a large degree. And mind you, I don't really care about this issue. It's not a big deal to me. To me, being strip searched is only as much of a violation as you let it be. If you're perfectly comfortable with yourself, and you're not afraid of having shit up your ass, like if you have coke up your ass, yeah, you have reason to worry. It is an invasion of privacy, but to me, privacy was never really an issue. We don't really have a lot of privacy anyway. If I wanted somebody's information, I could look them up in the white pages, and pretty much from there, do some peering into and find out everything I need to know about them. And people make public spectacles of themselves on Facebook and shit. Privacy is pretty much non-existent in Western society. And even if there were privacy and people appreciated it, it just doesn't seem like an important issue to me. I really don't... You notice I make public displays of my opinions, and they're not exactly popular opinions, and I show my face and everything. I really don't care about privacy. The only thing that bothers me about invasion of privacy is the fact that I know that bad people manipulate those invasions to hurt other people. That's the reason we have privacy. We don't have privacy because it's our pride on the line. We don't have privacy because we're just entitled to keeping secrets and we're entitled to nobody knowing anything about us. We have privacy to protect us. That is our security. Our security doesn't come from, cops being able to do whatever the fuck they want to. It doesn't come from having huge jails to keep half of the population. It comes from limiting people's ability to fuck with us. It comes from limiting their ability to manipulate us, to blackmail us, to con us, and to know certain kinds of information that can be used against us. So that's what privacy is about. And unfortunately, that's the aspect of privacy nobody cares about. So that's probably why it happened. Because nobody thinks that deep into it. All they figure is, well, I have a right for people not to know that, what I was doing Saturday night. Nobody gives a fuck. It's not about that. So, that's all I have to say for now.